Welcome to Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. Our first Reddit post is from Jexbit. How my cousin and I got a photographer locked up for revenge porn. So this all started about 3 years ago. My cousin, who lives in Arizona, always had a desire to have professional nude photos taken. She thought it'd be nice to have something for her husband to look at from when she was in her prime as they aged together. Also, I think it kinda turned her on. However, my cousin had no desire to have those photos publicly published. After a few years of chewing on this idea, she decided she was going to do it. She went out looking for a photographer. She had a tight budget and ended up going with this one man who quoted her $300 for a 1-hour photo shoot. He didn't mind taking nude pictures of her. However, she asked him if he had any agreement or something that would keep those photos confidential. He said he did not. She asked him if she wrote up an agreement basically stating the photos he takes of her cannot be saved on any of his devices, and the SD card needs to be given to her, and that she should be the only person with a copy of the photos, and if he'd agree to that. His only request was that she buy the SD card herself. So she agreed. He sent her what kind of SD card she should buy, and she bought it. She also wrote up an agreement in which the following was agreed upon signed. Photo shoot was to last 1. He would be paid $300. He would edit 6 pictures of her choosing, airbrushing, making her look better, etc. He would also print those 6 photos. She would supply the SD card. He would also delete any photos of her from any device he has. The photos he takes of her, after he's done, should not be saved to any device he owns, and the only copy should be on the SD card when he gives her the SD card. He's not allowed to share those photos with anyone for any reason, and those photos belong to her only. Agreement was signed. Photo shoot happened. Photos were edited. She got her SD card. All things well and good. My cousin figured that was that. Obviously, we all know this isn't the end, but just the start, otherwise I wouldn't be posting here. About 6 months after the photo shoot, the photographer contacts her and says he has copies of her photos and knows a website can he sell them to for $500, and if she doesn't want that, she needs to pay him $500. My cousin calls me and asks me what I think she should do, as I'm pretty good at handling dynamic situations. I did some Googling and come to find out this could be considered revenge porn, and that's illegal in the state of Arizona. In fact, it's a felony, which means jail time. Also, obviously, this would be considered blackmail, which is also a felony. So I tell my cousin to do this. Don't pay him. If you pay him once, there is nothing stopping him from trying to get you to pay again. Remind him that you are both in the state of Arizona and that it's a felony to distribute revenge porn. Remind him that you had a signed agreement in which he agreed the photos he took of her he would not save a copy, and he would never publish anywhere. Remind him if he publishes your photos, you will post him on blast throughout the social media world. She said thanks. I thought this was the end of that story. But about 6 months later, I'm on Reddit on my porn Reddit account. I have a Reddit account I only use to subscribe to porn subreddits to keep my main account clear of porn, and I'm walking off, and I'm in one of the subs when I click on a picture. And bam, my dick goes limp. I'm staring at my cousin in a very seductive pose. I knew she was my cousin cause you could see the tattoo of her son's name and birthday. It was a complicated feeling. At first I was annoyed that my whack-off session was ruined by running across a picture of my cousin, and then it dawned on me. The photographer didn't listen to her and must have published her photos anyway. So now things get more awkward, cause now I have to call my cousin and tell her how I found her nude photos as I was masturbating. Not a conversation anyone would like to have with a blood relative, but she had to know. So I called my cousin and informed her of what I saw. I sent her the links. I went to the local Facebook groups and left nasty reviews for him. My cousin didn't want her name out there, saying nude photos have her existed so people could go out and find them. I then Googled how to DMCA and sent in DMCA notices to the sites I could find that were hosting her photos. I also did a reverse image search and DMCA those as well. I taught my cousin how to do this herself. FYI, DMCA works, and none of the sites even argued with us. At this point, someone gives me an attorney's number. They tell me this attorney was an advisor to the revenge porn law bill that Arizona passed and that we should call the attorney. So I did. I explained the story to the attorney. I left out the my walking of bit as I didn't feel that was relevant. The attorney then explained to me because I wasn't the victim, he couldn't really do anything until the victim contacted him herself. So I went to my cousin, told her about this attorney and how she should go speak to the attorney. Now, my cousin has a flaw in her personality. I tried my best to persuade her, but she said she felt the nasty reviews we had left and spreading the news was enough. Another 6 months pass, and one day my cousin calls me again and says, "You wouldn't believe which son of a bitch emailed me." Being the quick thinker I am, I said, "The photographer, right?" She said, "Yup." And I said, "So how much money is he asking for now?" She said he's asking for $10,000 to delete her photos and as compensation for the damages we caused to his business. Apparently people don't want to hire a photographer who publishes people's photographs that they paid him to take without their permission. I told it was time to call the attorney. She agreed. Let's skip ahead a year. Apparently said photographer had plenty of money to fight a legal battle. Long end of the story, my cousin got him convicted for blackmail, and Revenge Porn Plus successfully sued him and got a civil judgment for a hefty sum of money. He's currently serving 3 years in an Arizona state prison. Granted, after she got her civil judgment, he had basically sold everything he had trying to stay out of jail, so it's unlikely she will ever be able to collect. But basically his future earnings now belong to her, as I understand it. This comment is from Divinity. Websites don't want revenge porn because it's just not worth it. Plenty of porn to go around. This comment is from Jexbit. Correcto, we found her pictures on a few different sites. All of them were very prompt to remove them and didn't even question anything. I read a while back that porn sites don't even want to attempt to fight those claims because there's so much porn out there it's not worth the risk of keeping up a potentially illegal piece of content when you literally have millions of pieces of legal porn content to show off. I will say this, I view porn from time to time and have quite a bit since this whole thing has come about. I have yet to see any of her pictures out in the wild since this whole thing was settled. So that's good. This comment is from Habib Express. Damn, that's awesome. Smooth move, cousin. Now a word from today's sponsor. Surfshark is an all-around VPN solution that can do everything from torrenting as well as streaming to browsing the dark web. Surfshark is one of the very best all-round VPN, terrific for Netflix, torrenting, confidential browsing, as well as staying safe on public Wi-Fi. Check out Surfshark today, link is in the description. Now back to the video. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. My principal tried to get me fired, so I got her fired from the district. I was in my mid-20s, fresh out of grad school, and ready to start. I got a job at a Title I elementary school near my home teaching art, and I was super excited that I could walk to work. However, I was so far into la land that I didn't notice any of the warning signs. Warning sign number 1, it was a week before school started, and I had called and emailed the school office staff and my principal to ask about getting my keys and badge so I can start seeing what I needed to do to get ready for the school year. No response and no answer from either. So I called the district office and asked when and where I could pick up my keys and badge. 2 days before school starts, I get an email from my admin that I should have been more patient and not have contacted the main office about my keys and badge. I finally got everything and was able to get into my room and was horrified with how much I had to get done. Apparently, they had used my room as storage, so it was loaded with tables and desks stacked on top on each other, 8 filing cabinets, and well over 1 chairs stacked all around the room. I managed to clean out the space with help from my awesome custodian. Shout out to all custodians, who are the secret backbones in helping teachers get ready for the school year. Hurdle number 1 finished. Warning sign number 2, it's now the day of classes starting, and I haven't been informed of what the schedules are, as in which days I see certain classes and when. So I email my principal, again asking what the schedule looks like and if there is a digital document that I can print out. I get an email back a few minutes later telling me to stop pressuring and bullying her. I replied sorry if I was making her feel that way, but it would be nice to know what classes I had and when. This leads to warning sign number 3, it's 810 not 10 minutes after school started, and I finally get my schedule, only to find out that I have 2 classes at the same time. Note my school isn't huge, but we still had 14 classes serving kinder 6th grades, so I was having at least 46 kids in one classroom by myself. Moreover, I had 7 45-minute periods a day and saw every class every day of the week, with only a 30-minute lunch. My lunch was when I was on lunch duty. I asked my principal if there was any way we could adjust the schedule so I had time to plan and get the classroom ready for the next class, and wouldn't lose instruction time getting things ready as the new class was coming in. I got yelled at by her with a class waiting outside saying it was my first year teaching, and I didn't know what I needed and needed to just deal with it. Well, I decided not to just deal with it, and I read the teacher's contract for the district. Come to find out, we had a section about classroom size. It stipulated that if you had a class over 30 students, you get to have an educational assistant. I brought this up with my principal after a month and a half of struggling and was, you guessed it, denied and told there was no money in the budget and I would have to make do without it or quit. Mind you, I am stubborn and determined to make things work with what little I have. But things were rough in order to prep and plan everything for the next day, make meaningful grades, keep up with referrals, and keep in contact with families. I was having to be at the school from 6 exam when the morning custodian arrived, till 9 p.m. and the night janitor was leaving on weekdays, and then also use my weekend time to continue to plan and grade. When I came time for my first teacher evaluation, I was dreading it. However, I got all satisfactory mark from my principal. I was shocked. Little did I know this was a plan she had all along. A few more weeks go past and I've had it. I talk with our union about the double classes and say it's not sustainable, and a classroom my size can't safely fit more than 30 students, let alone 46 students. And they said they would handle it. And other few weeks go by and nothing. It's not the week of Thanksgiving and conferences are over, and I get to not worry about anything for 2 days. So I decided to go to a potluck dinner with some old friends of mine. So here is the best part, and maybe the part that saved my career and even maybe my sanity. I was talking with one of an old acquaintance and his new husband about what teaching job I landed and how the school year was going. I let it slip that even though my students were amazing and had such creative minds, it's frustrating to me that I don't have the time to give to them that they deserve, and with 2 classes at once it's hard to get around to everyone in the class in just 45 minutes. I noticed the husband raise his eyebrow and ask me what school I worked at. So I told him, what harm could it do, ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between? Little did I know I was talking with my principal's supervisor. I found out the next Monday when my admin stormed into my room at 805 to scream and yell at me, threatening to fire me and make sure I never work in education again. I was shocked and confused at the time. However, later that week at our staff meeting we talked about a change in the schedule and how only on class would be in my class at a time for an hour now, and I would only see them twice a week instead of all 5 days. It was magical. The kids were happier. I was calmed, was able to help each individual student if they needed it, and was able to plan enough throughout the day so I could leave at 4. Sad to say, my happiness didn't last forever. I noticed my principal stalking my room and coming in nonstop to observe me. It was awkward. I also had a few of my very extroverted students come in quite and unable to focus and work. Being confused, my response was always, "Oh, student name, I gave absolutely no intentions of going anywhere. You are all the best students a teacher could ever ask for," which would cheer them up for a while, but then they would come in next week upset again. It all clicked when the day before we left for Christmas break, my principal came into my room with one of her minions who was out building union representative to tell me I was being put on a teacher support plan. This plan was to evaluate whether or not my contact with the district would be up for renewal at the end of the school year. I was shocked, and my union rep just snickered and walked away giggling with our admin. I felt sick. It wasn't until I got home and read when this plan detailed was I seeing red. I had hit my breaking point. This is when I started to formulate a plan of revenge. Some things to note: our principal liked to come into school whenever they felt like. She would be there anywhere from 745 our actual contract hours to as late as 930 once showed up at noon without telling anyone. I also knew that she had kept renwelling a certain after-school care contractor that wasn't free to families, but they got money from district to offer it for free. I also knew that this person running an after-school care was dating and living with our principal. So during winter break, my acquaintance and his husband called and asked if they are free to get drinks over the holidays. I love a good cocktail, and I needed some hard liquor. When we met up, I wanted to talk about anything other than school stuff. I just wanted to keep my mind off of school drama. But the new husband brought up if things were better after he had talked about the double classes. That was when I found out that he was her boss. I asked, "What do you mean you talked to my principal? How do you know her?" New husband: "Oh, you didn't know I'm the supervising administrator for that cohort of schools." My jaw dropped, and I started to hyperventilate. The husband was startled and asked what was wrong. So I told him everything. How she yelled and threatened to get me fired, how she put me on this support plan, and how she just kept observing my class without notifying me. His face went from a concerned look to surprised Pikachu face to red with anger. He told me I really always had a bad vibe from her and always wondered why there were always so many new teachers at that school every year. I hesitated to tell him everything, but my acquaintance told me not to worry. He has seen this look before, and that we were on my side. So I told him everything I knew. They both just sat there awestruck, unable to speak about what they were hearing. Anyway, after break is over, I am dreading coming back into my class, but I don't want to miss seeing my students. So I push on. I am walking in the hall to my mailbox, and I see a few of my students that had cried and told me they didn't want me to leave. They ran up and gave me the biggest, longest hug ever, saying, "You're here. You're here." Me, of course, I'm here. I wouldn't leave the best students ever. Now would I? Students, but principal said you were going to leave us because you didn't want to be here, and we should give you trouble before you left. Me trying to hold my rage. Oh, maybe she talking about how I was leaving for visit family over the break. No need to worry. I'm still here. Yes, y'all, this wretched woman tried to purposely make kids misbehave in my class to write me up for not having good rapport with my students. I was beyond livid. So next time I have class with that student, I asked them if they could make a comic book of the conversation they had with my principal when she told them I was leaving, and make an ending he wanted. Phase 1 started. Phase 2, I contacted my boss's boss and told him per my contract, I wanted another admin to accompany my principal's teacher support observations. And I wanted it to be him. He said absolutely, but not to tell my principal just yet. The first day of my observation comes, and she walks in without a notebook or anything to take any sort of notes, looking proud of herself like she is about to get away with firing me. She is shocked and confused when boss walks in with a laptop and sits next to her and starts typing notes about how I'm doing. She stumbles around and comes to ask me for a notepad to take notes, and I tell her I don't have an extra notepad, but I so have some poster paper. We were making movie poster of a movie we would star in to go without comic books, and that I hope you can be better prepared next observation as to not disrupt my class and take time away from their institutional time. Boss just smirked. Phase 3, I was now calling my new best friend her boss's boss whenever she was late getting to school, and he would do a random stop by if he was close. So he was able to document that she was not showing up to work on time and not submitted the paperwork to have it be taken out of her leave minutes. Overall, we get he at least 2 times a week for a solid month. I think he even asked someone from HR to come to our school to see for herself at 9am, and she still wasn't even there. Now time for phase 4, which was my favorite one, getting the parents on board. I first started talking to parent that seemed to always be late picking up their students. I would chat about it, and they said it was hard to get there on time, and they often had to leave early. And when I told them about our aftercare, they would tell me that it costed too much for them. However, I would inform them that since we are a Title I school, that after-school care was free and paid for by the district, and gave her a nifty flyer I made up with the website to fill out the forms and which ones to fill out. This made word spread around to parents paying the contractors directly that it was supposed to be free. And boy, was that a fun PTA meeting to go to. I also made sure the principal knew it was me that informed the parents about that free after-school care program. After this, there were countless investigations at our school, with head administration from the central office stopping by our school auditors, and our union finally got involved and tried to play the heroes victims of this incident. The outcome the second half of the year was very chill. My new best friend made sure that my teacher support plan was taken off my teaching record, and my principal was not allowed to do my second term evaluations, nor was she allowed to do any informal observations. The after-school care contractor was fired and taken over by one recommended by the district, and my students were making amazing strides in their posters and comics. At the end of the year, when we were getting our assignments for next year, my principal made one last attempt to get me to leave and told me our budget doesn't have the funds for an art teacher next year and that I might want to see employment elsewhere. I laughed in her face and said, "Nice try, my position is paid for by a state bond and isn't affected by your budget from the district. If there isn't anything else, I'll be leaving now," and walked out. I could hear her slam her desk and swear up a storm as I closed the door. At the end of the year, I had my one student share his comic book about how the principal told him to give me trouble in class at our school's talent show, leaving the already pissed off parents more pissed that an adult would tell a child to act in such a way. I even think she had a shoe thrown at her when she ran on stage to stop him from finishing his comic. To the surprise of no one, the last day of school she announced on the intercoms after students had left that she would be resigning from our school to move to a different position where she was needed, and that she would miss almost all of us. I came to find out after stalking her on LinkedIn 2 years later that she had to get a job out of the district, an hour drive away, to get another admin job, but only stayed for a year, and then had to step down to teaching English at a different school in another district the next year. And for those of you wondering how my students' comic book ended, well, the art hero rallied the students against the angry principal to make her see the errors of her ways, but the angry principal could not become happy, so she left, and the power of happiness filled the school once again. Finn. This comment is from Impressive Relief 705. What happened to the union rep? This comment is from Alkalinalex 359. Then she slammed on her desk and screamed, "Bring me pictures of Spider-Man." This comment is from Memi. Yeah, it sounded believable till the end, then the comic book stuff happened, which sounds like a movie. That was Reddit Reads r/ProRevenge. If you like this content, please subscribe and click the bell icon so you are notified of new uploads. We upload new videos every day. Also subscribe to our Patreon, as that will help us a lot. See you next time.